true of the history of the Rothschild family, is to try to disentangle the myth, the conspiracy theory from the historical reality, because it's absolutely clear that from the vantage point of somebody like Warburg, who'd lived through the Weimar Republic, who'd seen the rise of Hitler, that there was a certain nervousness about what democracy could do. In his experience, democracy had gone totally insane and elected Hitler. And the conclusion he came to is that really capitalism needs to be protected in some measure from the great tides of political.
Isn't that what we? But isn't that what we have now? I mean, I have to tell you, I think the Fed created this problem. They created by protecting us from bubble crashes. They just kept making a bigger bubble and a bigger bubble and a bigger bubble, and it's about to pop.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about a figure like Sigmund Warburg is that he observes these great monetary miscalculations being made, not only in the 20s and 30s, but right the way through. In the 1970s, for example, we're sometimes told that this was a great era of regulated finance and everything was great until the dreadful deregulation of the 1980s. You've heard this story, Time Without Number, from Paul Krugman. You go back and look at Warburg's experience in the 70s, it was far from being stable. There was a highly regulated market in which inflation was running amok, mainly because the Fed and its counterparts in Europe were printing money and applying the principles of John Maynard Keynes. So I think this is an absolutely fascinating life, because it illustrates how, in reality, finance and politics interact. How do financial institutions really wield power? I think if you go onto the internet and you look at some of the conspiracy sites, people have an intuition that they're powerful. My point is, yes, they are powerful, but let's look at how they really operate. Let's look at the documents, let's go through the archives, let's carefully look at the letters they wrote, let's look at the meetings that actually happened between someone like Sigmund Warburg and Harold Wilson, the British Prime Minister, Richard Nixon. Look at the meetings that happened with Anwar Sadat, the Egyptian Prime Minister. We can document this story, and I think we can therefore understand it much better.
Last week, hold on 30 seconds. Last week, Road to Serfdom, we talked about Road to Serfdom, became hugely popular. Anti-Road to Serfdom, or pro, or in the middle?
I think ambivalent. I mean, the only way to sum up someone like Warburg was that he had seen what could go wrong, and this made him hugely cautious.
Did you address Weimar in here?
Absolutely, okay, which is where he was forged.
High financier, the life and times of Sigmund Warburg, Niall Ferguson, extraordinarily bright man, trustworthy man. Read the book. Back in a minute.